Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you tried to solve things on your own, but everything fell apart? The truth is that our strength, no matter how much we believe it is enough, has its limits. It is at these times that dependence on God reveals itself not as a weakness, but as the path to true wisdom. The common belief is that being strong means doing everything alone, but what few understand is that the greatest strength comes from trusting in something greater than ourselves. And that is where faith comes in, because while we desperately struggle to control situations, God is waiting to act with wisdom and power. If you are tired of fighting with your own hands, perhaps it is time to understand how this dependence can, in fact, be the key to overcoming any crisis. In times of crisis, the true essence of faith and hope in God is revealed. It is curious to think that the most challenging moments in life are actually those that bring us closest to miracles. After all, for something miraculous to happen, a difficult scenario is necessary. When everything is going well, we do not seek drastic changes. But in crises, human beings find themselves forced to trust in divine intervention, a greater force that brings light into the darkness. Who has never been through a situation that seemed impossible to resolve, but suddenly, like a breath of hope, something unexpected happened? Crises are like fertile ground for miracles. When adversity seems insurmountable, it is precisely there that the power of God manifests itself. It is like that moment when a person is on the verge of losing everything, and at the last second, an unexpected way out appears. It is at this point of despair that God acts, showing that, with Him, the impossible becomes reality. There is no shortage of examples of this, both in the scriptures and in everyday life. The story of Job, who lost everything but was restored, is just one of many illustrations that teach us about the importance of trusting in God's plan during crises. However, it is not just about passively waiting for a miracle. Active faith and wisdom go hand in hand. A person needs to understand that each challenge faced is an opportunity for growth and transformation. A crisis is not the end, but rather the beginning of something greater. And by recognizing this, the individual makes room for God to act in his or her life. But how do you know when a miracle is on its way? Well, that is the moment when dependence on God becomes the main focus, the next step in this journey of faith. True trust in God is revealed in the moments when we realize how fragile we are and how incapable we are of controlling all the situations around us. When adversity knocks on our door, we are confronted with our limitations, and often, the only way out is to recognize that only God has the power to transform the impossible. Dependence is not weakness, but wisdom, knowing that, by placing our hope in God, we are trusting in the only one who knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of all things. After all, is there anything more liberating than letting go of control and fully trusting in someone who never fails? It is during times of greatest weakness that God's power manifests itself most clearly. Remember Paul, who spoke about how God's power is perfected in our weakness. This teaches us that, instead of fighting against our limitations, we should embrace them and place them in God's hands. Dependence is a path to the impossible, because when we have nothing left to offer, God steps in and does what only He can do. And so, miracles begin to happen, not because of our strength, but because of our surrender. For those who wonder how to practice this dependence in a practical way, the answer is simple: prayer, meditation, and trust. By starting the day in prayer, for example, you are placing your concerns in the hands of God. It is an act of faith. By meditating on the scriptures, you connect with divine wisdom, which guides your actions. And by trusting in the outcome, regardless of what happens, you demonstrate that your hope is based on something greater than the circumstances. This brings us to the importance of spiritual preparation, the next essential step on this journey. Spiritual preparation is like an athlete training for a major competition. No one expects to run a marathon without having trained for months. Likewise, in the spiritual life, we need to strengthen ourselves before crises arise. Faith, prayer, and trust are the pillars that sustain Christians in times of adversity. Those who invest time in cultivating their relationship with God find strength and wisdom to face the most difficult situations. It is no wonder that Jesus withdrew to pray before the great challenges of his ministry. Spiritual preparation involves daily practices that go beyond moments of crisis. Constant prayer, reading the Bible, and fellowship with other Christians help to create a solid foundation. Imagine prayer as a conversation with God, in which you recharge yourself and gain direction for your life. Reading the Word is like a map that guides each step, while fellowship with other believers strengthens your faith. Just as an athlete feeds on nutrients to strengthen his body, Christians feed on the presence of God to strengthen their spirit. When adversity comes, those who are spiritually prepared are not easily shaken. Have you ever seen how some people face crises with impressive serenity? This does not happen by chance. It is the fruit of a life of communion and dependence on God. If you want to be prepared for life's challenges, start now. Pray, meditate, and strengthen your faith, because this preparation will be essential when the time comes to practice faith and obedience, as we will see below. Faith is a central element in the lives of those who seek to live according to God's purposes. It goes beyond simple belief. It is an unshakable trust in that which cannot yet be seen. And it is precisely this trust that paves the way for divine action. When someone acts with faith, they are saying, God, I trust in your wisdom and your plan, even if the circumstances seem impossible. Obedience, in turn, is the practice of this faith, the concrete step that demonstrates this trust. Thus, faith without action becomes empty, because it is in obedience that God works miracles. Faith and obedience walk side by side, like two partners in a harmonious dance. Do you remember the story of Abraham, who, through faith, obeyed God without knowing where he was going? This is the essence of a life guided by trust in God. Sometimes, divine instructions may seem challenging, but it is in these moments that obedience reveals the power of God. When someone chooses to obey, even without understanding all the details, they are allowing God to manifest his power and wisdom. And that is how miracles happen. To apply this lesson to your life, think about areas where you can demonstrate greater obedience to God's will. Maybe it is a call to forgive someone, to begin a new phase of life, or even to walk away from something that is preventing you from growing spiritually. The more you align your actions with God's will, the more you will see the power of the Holy Spirit at work in your life, as we will see below. The Holy Spirit is the great enabler in the lives of those who walk in faith and obedience. He is the divine presence that strengthens and guides us, bringing wisdom and discernment in the most difficult situations. Imagine facing an impossible challenge alone. The weight would be overwhelming, but with the Holy Spirit, everything becomes possible, because he is the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. When we trust in him, we can live a life of miracles and transformation, because the Spirit works both in our weaknesses and in our actions of faith. The Bible gives us several examples of the power of the Holy Spirit in action, such as on the day of Pentecost, when the apostles were empowered to preach in several languages, impacting multitudes. This same Spirit dwells in all who believe. He is not a distant force, but a constant presence, shaping every aspect of our lives. He gives us confidence, hope, and wisdom to make wise decisions, even when the situation seems complex or hopeless. It is through the Spirit that we find the strength necessary to obey God and experience his grace in every step. In practice, invoking the power of the Holy Spirit can be as simple as a daily prayer, asking for wisdom and guidance. Before making important decisions or facing a crisis, seek the Spirit in prayer, ask for his guidance, and notice how he acts. The secret to a life of miracles is to live according to this divine wisdom, always guided by the Spirit. From this understanding, it is possible to recognize how much we depend on God in all areas of life. Now that we have seen how dependence on God can transform our perspective in the face of crises, it is time to think about how to put this into practice. Have you realized that you don't have to carry all the burdens alone? How about starting to experience this life change now? What can you do today to increase your trust in God? Have you tried giving him those worries that keep you awake at night? Maybe it is time to stop resisting and allow the Holy Spirit to guide you, offering wisdom in decisions and peace in the midst of chaos. So, if this content has given you new ideas and a desire to change the way you face challenges, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lessons on faith and transformation. Let's continue together on this journey of learning and growth.